My Lords, it's a great pleasure to follow the Noble Lord, Lord Boateng, and to agree with pretty well everything he said, but particularly the Noble Lord's last comments about Britain's historical record and what a stain this is on our historical record. And I have to say that I was astonished that the Noble Lord Callaghan spoke about Diego Garcia as being under British control for 2 centuries, as though that fact should be a reason to continue to hold the last British colony in Africa. The island slipped more or less accidentally, the duress that the Noble Lord, Lord Boateng referred to was worldwide, into British hands under the Treaty of Paris of 1814, remaining so after your Lordship's house, now Duke of Wellington's great-great-great-grandfather won out at the Battle of Waterloo. As a length of historical accident continuing, it takes some beating. There's no reason for Britain to continue to hold land some 9,400 kilometres as the albatross flies from London. The age of colonialism is, or at least should be, long over, and if Britain is to find a respected place in a newly multilateral world and show respect for the rule of law and principles of human rights, then abandoning claims to sovereignty is a step in the right direction. I'm going to focus on 2 points. Echoing the points made by the Noble Lord, Lord Grocott about the brutal and cruel removal of the people of the Chagos Islands and their continuing betrayal by Britain, I would stress to the Noble Lord, Lord Purvis of Tweed, as I offer Green support for his motion, that there is no amnesia epidemic on this particular seat to his right. I am proud that the Green Party has a long tradition of standing up for the Chagosians. A quick search on the internet finds many examples, but I'll note just one example of Caroline Lucas, formerly my honourable friend, formerly in the other place, who in 2017 was backing an early day motion which, quote, demands that the government fulfil its humanitarian and human rights obligations and allow the Chagosians to return home. This is a demand which needs to be continued. My second focus is environmental, as the Noble Lord, Lord Goldsmith said in his very comprehensive speech, and indeed the excellent committee report, referencing an expert academic voice. This is one of the most important reef environments on the planet. We as a human species have done terrible damage to the oceans and the seas that cover the 72% of the surface. And as we discussed in the oral question earlier today, with the threat of illegal US deep-sea mining looming, we could be doing even more indefensible damage to essential ecosystems on which our life depends, but of which we know little. And one of the things that's worth saying about this huge area of relatively untouched environment is not just its importance in its own right, but it's one of the last places where researchers can study a coral reef system unbroken by human hands. It provides the benchmark that when we're looking at other damaged places, we can say that's what it should look like. We cannot afford to lose that. Now, we know that Mauritius has promised to maintain environmental protections, no, but, well, they've promised, let me finish, they've given verbal pledges. Let me finish my sentence. They've given verbal pledges, but verbal pledges do not stop illegal fishing fleets. They don't override economic pressures that might come on in the future. And this is one of the world's largest marine zones, twice the size of the UK. I think we need to stress that point. And it's also worth noting that even under UK jurisdiction, and with all of the existing and potential force associated with Diego Garcia, enforcement has not been foolproof. Trawlers have been caught operating illegally in Chagos waters and have often evaded prosecution. There's also the fact, and I'm now come to 2 direct questions to the Noble Lord the Minister, that the US military base is a threat in terms of spillages of oil, other environmental contamination, just the impact of human existence there. And so I'd be interested if the Noble Lord the Minister could comment in any way about how they're going to ensure that the continuing base and our continuing place there is not going to do damage. And finally, my final question to the Minister is regarding media access to Diego Garcia. I note that last year the BBC's Alice Cuddy, who noted in a report to her visit then To enter the island, you need a permit, only granted to people with connections to the military facility or the British authority that runs the territory. Journalists have historically been barred. Now, the BBC had to push extremely hard to get into Diego Garcia for one special case. What is intended to be the policy of openness and transparency in future?